welcome back to the Burrow. I'm Hillary, your resident fragrance-loving muggle. So today we are going to have episode 2 of our Fragrant Fiction series, and we'll be looking at Din Djarin, or more commonly known as the Mandalorian. So if you're interested to hear what kind of fragrances he might be into, stay tuned. Okay, so I have 2 fragrances picked out for Mando. Is Adele staring at me? Okay, hold on. We're gonna, just a second. Okay, so now that Adele isn't over there judging me, you all may have noticed that we're in a different part of my house. My toddler helped me to make some blueberry muffins this morning, and if you've ever had a toddler help you cook, it's a mess that you can't ever describe, and yeah, so I've got to work on that. Anyways, so we're here today. So I have 2 fragrances picked out for Mando. The first fragrance is centered around his past and the history that we know of him. And the second fragrance is more centered around his present and everything that we've learned about him thus far. Hopefully after we have season 2, I'll be able to pick out a fragrance that suits his future, perhaps? Okay, so the first fragrance that I have for Mando is Larmes by Atelier d'Ors. Now, this fragrance is a true rich amber fragrance. I would almost say that it was somber, which really plays into the name, and we'll get to that in a second. But this fragrance is really resinous. The incense in the beginning is really, really strong. The myrrh is deep and kind of adds a bitterness to the amber. Most amber fragrances are usually, I would say, on the sweeter side, especially like, strong ambers. However, this one is more than anything spicy and a little bit bitter. This fragrance lasts forever, has great projection, and is one of my favorite from this whole line. But let's look at the name. So this fragrance is called Larmes, and that translates to Tears of the Desert. Now, that's probably referring to the incense and the myrrh in this fragrance, because both of those ingredients are harvested in tears. And that means that when you go out and you find these trees, you slice the bark and the sap will leak out. And then you'll come back a few days later and harvest the sap that has formed into these little tear shapes on the branches. Yeah, so those are called Tears of the Desert. Now, as far as Mando is concerned, what we know about him is that as a child, he was not born a Mandalorian. He was not born on Mandalore. He was a foundling because during an invasion, his parents tried to rescue him and threw him in a bunker. He luckily survived, and his parents did not. So he definitely has a very depressing beginning to his childhood, and I feel like this fragrance, being so somber, definitely fits that. And even just the name, Tears of the Desert, really works with his past. Other fun things about this fragrance, there are little gold flakes in it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but they actually come out when you spray, but they're kind of dry. It's not like spraying glitter onto your body. If you don't want those gold flakes there, you can totally just kind of like brush them off. It's not like they're gonna stick to you like if you've gone to the strip club or something like that. It'll just come right off. One of my favorite things about this fragrance is how inherently warming it is. Now, I feel like a lot of ambers are warming, but this one definitely, it's like you feel like you've been out in the sun. Like how when you can feel the heat on your skin, something about this fragrance leaves that feeling on you. And it's perfect to wear when it's really, really cold out, because you feel like you just have your own little heater kind of in your senses. This is just one of those fragrances that I feel like everyone needs to get their nose on at some point. And despite it being so somber and fitting of the Mandalorian's past, it's definitely one that almost anyone can wear. So definitely try that one. So when I think about the Mandalorian now in his present state, we know that he's a hardened bounty hunter, and he just chases down all these bad guys all the time. He's a gunslinger. Basically, he is a legit space cowboy in a metal suit. And nothing says space cowboy like Tom Ford's Tuscan leather. Now, this fragrance has notes of leather and suede, olibanum, jasmine, and raspberry. Now, what I love about this fragrance is that it is first and foremost a leather fragrance. Now, I didn't like that about it when I first started smelling it. I could not smell the raspberry in it whatsoever. All I smelled was straight dank leather. And the more and more that I smelled this fragrance and wore it, that raspberry would start to warm up on my skin. So he's this hardened bounty hunter who is, you know, just working as hard as he can to try to make a living. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this little green baby, and it completely changes his life. You know, he just has this soft spot for this little child, and that is almost like when the raspberry starts to warm up on your skin. It is sweet, and it slowly gets more and more powerful within the fragrance, and it then becomes the only thing that you can really concentrate on when you smell it. And I definitely think that is the way the Mandalorian's relationship has evolved once Baby Yoda came into his life. So yeah, Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford. I definitely think that that is a fragrance that, you know, is the Mandalorian now. It is smooth, and it is leathery, and it is also sweet and fruity, and which is just a really, really strange combination of notes, but it works. Just like this metal-suited man and his tiny little green toddler. So yeah. So those are the two fragrances I had for you. Larmes du Désert by Atelier d'Ors and Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford. So do you all agree with the fragrances I chose for the Mandalorian today? Definitely drop a comment below because I'd love to talk to you about it. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe, and definitely hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted next time I drop a video. As always, thank you guys so much for dropping by the burrow, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.